Now, Madden 21's had a ton of updates. It's the most updated Madden in the series already. Tons of problems with the game, tons of people complaining, but what's interesting is this is the first year that EA has kind of opened up an official forum to leave feedback, and they've actually been acting on a lot of this feedback, both good and bad. They've fixed some things for the better, they've made changes that have made things worse. So I thought, let's look at the forum. It's basically like a Reddit type deal where you upvote, downvote feedback, and this way we can kind of see what changes are coming to the game, but also just talk about the feedback in general, because there's some good stuff on there. But let me tell you something, there's bad feedback on the user voice forums, and we need to dive into it. We need to try to save this game and make it better. We need the good feedback addressed, we need the bad feedback to get pushed to the side, because there's some bad feedback. So we're going to get into that. If you're new to the channel, hey, I post videos almost every day. If you want to stay up to date on Madden stuff, make sure to subscribe, bell icon on, so you never miss any important uploads. So I've sorted a lot of the stuff on this forum by like the stuff that's got the most upvotes and the most attention, but I'm also going to look at some new feedback, because new feedback comes in every day and it's always liable to get upvoted. So we can stop some of this bad stuff in the tracks. It also shows you on here what things have directly like been sent to the team already, that really gives you a good idea of what they're already looking at, so we can see what's going to be coming potentially, but also let's stop some of the bad stuff before it gets there. Now here's the first one that caught my eye because it had a lot of upvotes. It says defensive line. The D-line doesn't get any pressure at all. In real life, a QB is taught to get the ball off in 3 seconds or less, but with Madden, they have all day to pass. There's no realistic way to put pressure on the QB with just the D-line. This also makes it harder to play defense, since the QB can wait for the wide receiver to run all over the field to an open spot. Now this one's kind of like half true here, right? The defensive line as a whole, not very good at generating pressure this year. However, just like every Madden, there's always certain formations where the D-line does generate good pressure, and you really have to know which ones those are. Right now, nickel 3-5, amazing. It generates great pressure with just 3 pass rushers, especially if you have edge threat defensive ends. However, he's not wrong in the fact that 4-man pass rush is god-awful. And it's usually one or the other with Madden. Either some years it's the 4-man rush gets the good block shed, some years it's the 3-man rush. Right now, it's the 3-man rush, but mostly like for nickel dollar, not so much like the 3-4 type stuff. The 4-man rush should be, by default, typically better than a 3-man pass rush, because you have another pass rusher out there. Just seems like really right now what it is, the offensive line just doesn't handle the 3-man rush nearly as good as it does a 4-man rush. It's like they get stupid versus 3-man rush, so he's kind of half right here, but there are actually ways to generate that pressure, and wide receivers really aren't running that wide open even when they do have time, because man defense, if you know what you're doing, is pretty decent this year. Change QB slide back to single tap button press. I don't even have to read this one, and I already agree with you. You're speaking to my soul on this one, but we're gonna read what you wrote anyway. Please change QB slide back to being a single tap of the dive button. The responsiveness of the double tap is not consistent and leads to way more unfair fumbles for users across all modes. It was fine the way it was. Currently, you can tap it twice quickly and it will work, but you tap it twice at the same speed on another play and the QB will dive instead. A better solution is simply change the way you give up mechanic for ball carriers to be a single tap of the button, and have QB slides be a single tap as well. I said this in like multiple videos already. The worst change they've made this year, and it's something so small in a game that has a lot of problems that you would say, well, how is this the worst change? But it really is, because it was fine the way it was and they changed it. It's just, man, it's an awful change. I hope they fix this one. We need to send this one through. Send this one through to the team, fix it, revert it back. This was a terrible change. Here's another one. Fix the slide give up button. Like, I've seen this one throughout this whole forum. It's just, look, if it's not clear, EA, this was a bad change. You tried something. It's okay. Sometimes you mess up. Sometimes we all goof. We try to do something and we mess up. Just change it back, because we don't like it. Many people don't like it. It's not good for the game. Just change it back. Run game. The run game in Madden 21 does not reflect the actual dynamic between offensive line and defensive line. The O-line always moves the line of scrimmage 1 to 3 yards into the defense. There is no, the words here are starred out, so he must have had some curse and he must have been mad. There's no something on run plays from the defensive line regardless of attributes. Pursuit angles and play recognition should allow players to understand the play, and if the play is repeated, allow players with a higher play recognition to make plays on run plays. Kind of right and wrong at the same time. The defensive line a lot of times does just get mindlessly pushed back. However, the defensive line a lot of the times just mindlessly gets an instant block shit as well. It's kind of just like a coin flip. However, it's nowhere near as bad as it was last year. You can definitely stop the run much better this year than you could last year, even though the run game is still pretty good, but it should be good. The run game shouldn't be not viable at all, but I think asking for more just instant block sheds because you ran maybe the same play a few times, that's not really the answer, right? Because it still needs to be on you as a user to a certain extent to get in there with your user, try to help shoot the gaps or just muddy up the lanes, right? They already upped the block sheds this year a lot more than they were last year. I think asking for them to do any more would then just render the run game useless, and that wouldn't be good either. So I think at this point, to stop the run, like at a certain point, user has to come into play. And if you're not doing things with your user and you're just expecting the D-line to just instantly do it all for you, that doesn't make for a good experience either. Gameplay in general. Fix aggressive catch. I already know I'm not going to like this one. I haven't read it yet, and I already know I'm not going to like it. There's absolutely no reason why DB should still be constantly winning all jump balls and coming up with the interception just because of a perfectly timed user. The aggressive catch is still an absolutely useless tactic because all it does is animate your receiver only for him to be touched by a defender, and then they love to just tap the ball up in the air 8 yards so it can get intercepted. This needs to be fixed ASAP. I'm trying not to get mad at this one. I'm trying to understand where it's coming from, but this is a mini rant time. We got a rant now.
A few moments later.
Aggressive catches for the last few years in this game, in my opinion, and in the opinion of people that truthfully want a more skillful game, we all would agree that aggressive catches happen more than they need to already. They simply do. The thing here is people want aggressive catches to truly be like a 50-50, right? I'm throwing it up to a tall receiver. He has a 50-50 chance of coming down with it every time. This is the thing. In real life, does that happen? Sure. Here's the thing. We're playing a video game. Oh, but Eric, the game is supposed to simulate real life. Here's another thing though. In order for a game to be good, you have to mesh the game in real life, right? You can't just, these aren't humans on the field, so it can't be a one-to-one. In real life, this is my thing. In real life, when you throw up a jump ball, there's so much that goes into that, right? It's not luck. It's not the QB saying, please God, please come down with the ball. I'm just putting it up there. No, the QB has to, number one, put the ball in the right spot. If he doesn't put the ball in the right spot, the DB has a much better chance of making a play. So the timing with the QB and the receiver has to be on point. The QB has to try to put the ball pretty much only where the receiver has a chance to go up and get it. So then it's completely on the receiver whether he catches it or not. Right? That's one part of it. Then it's the receiver versus DB, the player versus player. Does the receiver get off the line clean? Does the DB get more physical and slow him down, throwing off the timing? Now when the ball is in the air, does the receiver do a good job at boxing out? Does the receiver go up and actually secure the ball? Does the DB get in better position and time his jump better? In Madden currently, the way it's implemented, it's completely luck. And that is not good for the game. When I see a receiver one-on-one and I throw it up, when I throw that ball up to him, I'm conceding any control over the outcome of that play. I know that when I throw that ball up, whatever happens is completely up to the game at that point. And that is not a skillful way to play the game. It's not good for the game. We've had years where aggressive catch worked a good bit of the time, and people didn't like that either. It was terrible because you could literally close your eyes, press a button, and then just hold the button. Like I could just do this. I could just hold a button down. And I'm going to have the same chance to catch it as I am going to have to drop it. There's nothing I can do as a user to give myself a better chance to catch the ball because of the way it's implemented. So now the game doesn't reward throwing into coverage as much, even though it still rewards it. I see people aggressive catch on me all the time. But what the game is trying to, at least not in a good way, but trying somewhat to reward more is, hey, throw to the guy that's open. You try to get a guy open, he's open, you throw him the ball, you made a good play. You found the open man, you made your read, you threw him the ball, you got yards. When a guy is one-on-one, you're just hoping to win the animation. Now, the game used to be user versus user where the ball's up in the air and now it's a timing. Can I box you out? Can you as a defender get in a better position and time it? And you know what happened when that was in the game? The good players could win it on offense almost every time because the offense is naturally in a good position to go up and get these jump balls already. Like that's just how it is because you're on the offensive side of the ball. So when it was truly user versus user in the old days, it could have been implemented better, but the good users won every time on offense because they were already in position. So all they had to do was just really not mess up. And people hated that. They said, this is not realistic. The receivers win the jump balls every time. You can't have it both ways. Right now, I would rather them not reward a pass in coverage over, you know, hey, let's go back. We can go back to the old way and then we can always win it. But these aren't humans, so you can't really have it both ways. And right now, I don't think rewarding aggressive catches any more than they are already rewarded needs to be a thing. Find the open man and throw it to the open man. That's what your goal should be. It shouldn't be everything's covered, please game, bail me out, because right now that's what it is. You don't even have to time it. So until they can make a better user versus user system, they don't need to have more aggressive catch wins in the game, because it is just, this rant's going on way too long, but it's not good for the game to just the more the game decides random outcomes, the worse the game experience actually is. So no, we don't need more aggressive catch wins. Throw this one out. Here's another one. Revert the slide/dive button to what it was for QBs and apply that to every player. Tap once to slide/give up. Double tap to dive. I think it's better to, hold down to dive, but whatever, that works too. I mean, it's just so clear and obvious. EA, this is it. Do it this way. Please do it this way. Please do it this way. Give yourself up. Double clicking results in dives. Here's a good one. Bench press is not overpowered. Well, sir, first off, you're wrong. But we'll read the rest of it, and then I'll give my thoughts on this one, because this one is probably something that will be changed in an update very shortly. It says here, bench press is not overpowered in the current build of the game. It should not cost additional ability points. There are 5 eligible receivers on offense. This requires a defense to use 5 AP minimum to ensure bench press is on every one of those players. However, tight ends, running backs, and wide receivers off the line of scrimmage are not bumped. So even having 50% of the defense total ability points on bench press does not prevent the offense from having a fresh receiver. Meanwhile, a single receiver can get route technician or slot-o-matic for just 2 ability points, allowing them to get open versus man coverage. So if you don't know, bench press is despite what this guy is saying, is currently overpowered. It's an ability you can put on your players. When they win a press attempt, it severely fatigues your receiver to the point where even mid-play he can't run full speed, and then for the remaining next few plays he's tired. A lot of times they are forced subbed out the game, and backups have to come in who are lesser because they are that fatigued after one play. It also works even on run plays where cornerbacks aren't pressing on run plays because the receiver's going to block. He's not trying to actually get off a release. He wants the contact on a run play, right? And they're even getting fatigued on that. And the thing is, it only costs 1 ability point. It's such a cheap ability, but it does so much damage. It has completely changed how people are playing offense. Anytime one single ability can completely change how people are playing offense, it's probably a little overpowered. However, yes, there are still plenty of ways to beat it, so I'm not saying it's impossible to beat. However, saying like, oh, well, you can put slot-o-matic or route technician on guys, yes, and those cost more ability points. There's only like 2 decent receivers in the game that can get slot-o-matic for 1 ability point, and you're sacrificing a lot of speed and route running with those guys because they're not like the top tier receivers. They're just like specifically slot guys, and that ability should cook man defense. Well, man defense is already good enough. An ability should definitely make it to where you cook man defense if you're going to spend ability points on that. However, what bench press does right now, and the fact that the thing is, the good abilities are supposed to cost more ability points. That's how it works, and that's fine. If bench press was 2 or 3 ability points, people wouldn't complain about it, because then you wouldn't put 3 of them on your defense, because then you would have no pass rusher. You would literally just have nothing else. You'd really be sacrificing if you had to put that on 3 guys, which is what a lot of people are doing. So the ability points need to match how good the ability is, and it also shouldn't work on run plays because it's not designed to work that way. So it does need some tweaking. I definitely see it getting some tweaking because it's clearly a little bit broken at this point. The movement is not the same. Take it back to Madden 20. Juke moves are horrible. Catching is horrible. You're kind of wrong. This is the thing. I'm not trying to this is not meant to clown on people, right? I mean, I don't know who these guys are. I don't know who their names are, so I'm not putting them out there like that. But however, juke moves are not horrible this year. You just have to change up how you play the game. Madden 20, it was easy to juke the hell out of everybody. That's not good. The double juke is the best move in the game. Literally, the double juke is the best move in the game. That is a juke move. It's not horrible. It is actually very, very powerful. It's just not the same as last year. Last year, you could just hit one button mindlessly, especially with jukebox, and just fake out everybody. Last year was like the easiest year to juke. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's not as easy to do as last year doesn't mean that they're horrible. You just have to change up how you're doing it. Okay, the regular juke doesn't work as good as last year. They've kind of made it a little bit more balanced, which is good. Balance is like the best thing for a game. So what move is good now? Oh, the double juke is good now. So I have to do 2 flicks of the stick instead of just one. I gotta do one little extra thing that's not very hard, and now juke moves are good again. The double juke move is great. Zone coverage does not react properly. Match zones, or zones in general, are nearly useless. Reaction times by high zone coverage rated players are slow. The same change in direction penalties are not in place for wide receivers. Curl flats still does not carry to the sideline, which consistently leaves crossing routes wide open. I have to constantly rush 3 players and place the rest in coverage just to have decent zone coverage, which is ridiculous. He's not completely off here. Zones definitely, I've been saying, I think zones need a little bit of a buff. I disagree with some things. I think zone drops work pretty well this year. When I set my curl flats, I get back there for the most part. Not every single time. I'm not going to act like it happens every time. Sometimes they don't get out there. But the majority of the times when I adjust my curl flats in the zone drops, I'm able to stop those corners and crossers. Again, like we went over earlier, pass rush, if you're in nickel 335 or dollar, you get better pass rush. Not saying that should be the only thing that's viable. Yes, pass rush out of 4-man rush should be better. Zone should react better, especially guys with high zone coverage. They should be reacting much better than they are. However, it's still like, for the current state of the game, you have to know what works, what doesn't work. Knowing what works is going to put you in a much better spot to get stops, to get those zones to carry to the sidelines, to get better pass rush. So there are ways around it. However, yes, he's right. Zones need a little bit of a buff because they're really, I don't want to say they're useless, but they're about as close to useless as you can get. The zone drops make it a little bit better if you're good at adjusting, but the reaction time, especially from those elite zone coverage guys, should be better than it is. So that's all I'm going to cover in today's video. These are a lot of things that are potentially going to be changed because these are things being sent to the EA team or have the chance to be getting sent soon, as some of these are newer feedback. So let me know what you think below. Do you disagree with anything that I went over? Do you want me to do more videos on this, looking at what potentially is coming in updates based on the community feedback? As always, I will see you guys next time.